Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. As we all know, we had a pretty good long debate last night. Not just watching the debate started at 8 o'clock, we also had a long after debate here on our channel, which was pretty interesting. Looking at some of the demographic data that came out, it looks like Trump basically swept Harris by a pretty wide margin. So, I swear to God, I thought she was starting to slur her speech in part of the debate, so I wonder if she was under the influence of some drugs or alcohol, but I can't verify that part. But either way, Kamala Harris was just pretty much pushing the Democratic agenda and excuses, and really didn't offer any insight into how she would solve some of the issues. It seems that she wanted to focus on topics that really are not hot button issues for the majority of Americans. Whereas Donald Trump, however, was focusing on the concerns Americans have, such as the economy. I suppose that's one of the reasons why the Democratic Party is quickly losing its ground in a lot of areas in people's lives, as people are leaving the Democratic Party for greener pastures. Good morning, how you doing, Tiger Kitty? Why don't I get you up on the morning show since you're here? And we can certainly cover this because you were at the debate last night. We did also pretty good also. And the number of viewers on the debate as well. So we were reaching out to a lot of people that were watching the debate on our channel. The link is NIR Tiger Kitty. Oh, actually, I do want to see it. At least unlike Sleepy Joe, at least it was more, shall we say, interesting. Today's expected high temperature will be about 24 degrees Celsius, which is going to be a nice change. Yesterday was kind of warm, but today will be 2 degrees Celsius warmer today. This afternoon, I'm going to also do some fact checking on Bismarck, North Dakota, as well from city data to verify a few pieces of information that I need to know. Molasses and I briefly talked yesterday in Discord in text to text. She's not against going to Bismarck. I told her, well, I'll tell you what. It's halfway to California, and you can still see Cruiser as you want to every so often. If we can get, a place together, I mean, the reason, even one that was for rent with furnishings already for $799 a month. I got a question. It's great if you don't have furniture, but it's bad if you do. If you have furniture and the apartment's furnished, where do you put your furniture? And that's a good point. You can have a place that's furnished, but if you already have furniture, you're kind of stuck. I think Alaska's is to live on her own these days. No, I know it's not. However, she does have one asset that I may need Bismarck is for now a car. Because I don't know much about Bismarck as far as how the mass transit is in Bismarck. It is the capital city of North Dakota. But from what I'm hearing, it's described as it's like about the size of Torrington. So it's kind of spread out a little bit. It's not like everything is crammed in like sardines. I'm sure Main Street is, but yeah, my stuff is old, but I still have to move my studio, and that's stuff is got to be moved. Otherwise, we'd have to replace all the computers, and that's going to cost money. We don't really. And right now, it's the only apartment. It's $799. It's furnished. It's actually, is it an apartment or is it a house? I think it's an apartment. It's an apartment. Well, unfortunately, Krista got my Xbox 360. I gave it to Krista already. So she has it with some games. Maybe that's the only way you can use the Xbox 360 is with the games. The orange box. Yeah, well, that's very true. Tiger, we don't know that. You're right. We don't know that. Anyway, you want to come on up on panel? It's NIR. NIR. It's the last 3-digit letters of the link. NIR. So. Hello, Antigladets. How you doing today? No, I'm not asking to be any of my carer. That's not. In terms of saying people are eating dogs. I don't know if it's necessarily happening in Springfield, Ohio. But with the high cost of food right now, I would say it's not entirely unfeasible. I mean, people right now are struggling as it is. A city with a population of 58,000 all of a sudden gets another additional 20,000 people in a very short time, which overran resources for the city. They didn't expect to get 20,000 Haitians. Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. And along with the Haitians come cucarachas, which is absolutely true. The same thing with people from the Dominican Republic downstairs. She could. She is an SSI. There's jobs there in Dakota, in Bismarck. As I said, it's the capital city. So, which means that she could easily find work if she wants to do caring. You know, not just me, but maybe others she's interested in. She has her literature degree in English. There's a university of Bismarck. She could actually get a job working in the university in the English department. So she could get that. I couldn't either, but But there are people in the Ukraine that got so bad when Stalin was around that they actually ate the grandparents. That's, so some people desperate enough that they will do whatever it takes to survive. Yes, I did. Well, her husband plays it once in a while, she says. I bought her a turntable last year as a gift because she helped me out with so many times already that that it was only fair to give her something that she could enjoy. It was the black one that didn't get the red circle of death. Well, yeah, well, you can bet the grandparents over there in Ukraine at that time of Stalin certainly weren't much better, Tiger. They really weren't. They were starving along with the rest of the family. Um, it's just something that, well, unfortunately, not quite a lot of people don't know how to fix the circle of death. As I said, my black Xbox 360 didn't have that. It was a newer one. It was a much quieter one too, because it was a newer one. But boy, did that thing get hot! It was like a mini space heater. All you needed was a little bit stronger fan on it, and you could have it to keep you warm while you're playing the games in a room that's unheated. Well, you definitely come forget capacitor failures. Electrolytic capacitors don't like getting super hot. And the original Xbox 360 had a lousy cooling system. That's the smart one, which we had, managed to fix that. But it's still pretty interesting to think about, though. All right, so let's get back to the main discussion. I think Trump was much more on top of the stage than Harris was. I think that Kamala Harris was not on top of on the areas that really apply to American people. And have you ever, and this is kind of true with both parties, but more so the Democrats. When a Democrat is in the White House, Democrats lead in the Senate, Democrats lead in the House, notice that no legislation gets passed. Nothing. Not a single bill. it's almost always is a lame duck session for 4 years. It's the same thing, but not as bad when the Republicans are all in charge. The Republicans are a little more willing to get their noses in there and start trying to come up with legislation that works. Right. Well, horse. What happens to all the wild horses that are hunted down by the United States Department of the Agriculture, USDA horses, and Wildlife Service? What are you gonna put them on? It ends up they gotta do something with the excessive horse population. So some of it just ends up in as food. What is Berg's up to this time? Yeah, well, bat is definitely bad, too, and rat is definitely equal to bat. In fact, they're both mammals and they're both vertebrates. One just happens to have wings. Well, I had horse meat once. It was kind of stringy. I wasn't really too impressed by it. Um, someone in social media. I actually knew Kristen Townsend from Mill Creek and I got blocked, so I take that as a yes. Oh, it's just So I think that I guess Kamala Harris wants a second debate. Which I think kind of is fair, considering the fact that originally there usually is 3 presidential debates. Joe Biden took one of them, so that leaves him with potential for 2. Next, it's going to be Kamala Harris. I mean, the VP of the VP, which is who is he? And also versus against J.D. Vance, the vice presidential debate. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't necessarily. That's one of the reasons why I'm really not sure what you're supposed to eat as far as meat anymore, because how we know that the meat and food that we're getting now is healthy? I don't. I mean, I had pepperoni pizza with stuffed crusted pepperoni pizza last night from Aldi's. And it's sitting in my stomach like a giant rock. Last Saturday, I had the 3 meat from Aldi. It did the same thing. It sat in my stomach like an even bigger rock. It's just, I don't mind the fish. But we all know that wild-grown fish tends to contain things like mercury and other things that are not good for you. So I think RFK is onto something about when he says about the FDA. I think he's right. A lot of the food in America is not good for you. But, of course, I'm surprised that Kamala Harris did not, and she didn't, want to touch on the high cost of living. She really didn't. She just immediately kept blaming Trump for it all. Look, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden did not create jobs. Now let me explain why, okay? Trump got the unemployment rate nationwide down to 3.25%. Okay? The reason why Joe managed to say he got the unemployment down again was because after COVID, people started coming back to work. He didn't do anything to encourage companies from bringing back manufacturing to the United States. Told them to go right back to China where they belonged. But moratoriums and caps on refining of fuel, fossil fuels, it's just something else to consider. That's the reason why I find it so amazing that Joe Biden used to say, oh, we're making the economy great. No, Joe, you didn't make the economy great. It was after the bans and moratoriums of COVID ended is when the economy started to re-wake up and reopen its doors. What you did was you destroyed the spirit that Donald Trump began when people started to feel better about themselves. Hello, Andorra, how are you doing? Good morning, David S. Good morning. Good morning, Cheryl. It's an SHIRL, Cheryl. I think it's Cheryl. So like I said, she did not even have any kind of plan to really bring back manufacturing jobs. She didn't cover that. I'd like to know what she was thinking. I think she thought that Donald Trump was going to be a pushover. Remember, I told you, Donald Trump is a stiff negotiator. He's not going to back down. You don't become a major successful real estate developer by backing down when the competition starts to heat up. That's why he's so successful in business. That is why he's so successful in life. Right. But it's not short for Shirley. So I'd like to hear a question. I kept asking this question, and no Democrat would answer it. They just give me crickets. So here it is. What has the Democratic Party done for you? What has the Democratic Party, as a Democrat, done for you? Republicans, this is for the Democrats only. Okay, but for the Republicans, let's ask the same question. What has the Republican Party done for you? I'm talking about you personally, for your life, your family. I'm not talking about just at large. That was created by the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation came up with Project 2025. It's a think tank Republican group. It had nothing to do with Trump in the White House. The Heritage Foundation came up with Project 2025. It's a rule of recommendations. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Democrats made things worse and weird for me. Put all these men with tails on their asses, females that look like men, men that look like females. The Republicans sold out. Yeah, accepting the Democrats more than that than the Republicans when they kept sending all the jobs back to China. Not saying that some Republicans didn't send jobs to China, but less of them then. In the 1960s, the Democrats were clearly in the lead. They had the concern of saying, we're the party of the common man. Which was true in the 1950s and 60s. But that's not the Democratic Party today. In fact, today, the Democratic Party doesn't care about the common man. I don't know what they care about, but they certainly ain't the common person. Vagrants as parents to the line the pockets for themselves. I mean, it's weird. It's weird. I don't. And then they keep sending, and then the Democrats keep sending majority of our jobs overseas. And oh, never mind that both parties have done this, have wanted to keep all the military bases in other countries. The countries that they're in, they're not even paying their fair share, like NATO. Okay. Finally, Angela Merkel finally, no, that's wrong person there. The original woman there from Germany, the head honcho, she's the one who finally agreed that Germany would give the United States the required 3.5% GDP for NATO. So the point is Trump managed to get some of the countries to finally agree to pay up their share of their NATO dues. Whereas for years we've had to foot the bill for protection of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Um, drug enablement and the addicts, also known as they were allowing. Oh, we saw what happened in Oregon. The state basically backpedaled on the hard drugs policy, realizing it wasn't working. An experiment that went down in infamy. And why is everybody in the Democrats so worried about helping out illegal migrants from other countries when we can't even help our own homeless, like we were talking about last night? Why is it? Why is it that we are supposed to be saying to all the illegals, come in here, park your asses on our street, we don't care? Well, we already got our homeless people in our streets. Many of which were also served in our military and have needs, medical needs that we're not even dealing with. And yet you're saying open the door, say, come on in, the water's fine. No, the water's quite cold, thank you. Well, just make sure to put a space heater or a electric hot water heater so you can be a little warmer. Do this while our homeless people are laying in the street freezing their ass off. How can you help other people when you can't even help your own people? Get our own American people that served in our country were born here. You serve your existing problem first, and before you focus on anyone else's.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, it was very possible. And what was passed in the state of California does not solve the homeless problem. All the homeless are going to do, since they have little to lose, are going to move to other states instead. So California tells all the homeless, get the encampments out of the city, out of the state. They're just going to spread like cockroaches after an exterminator shows up, because they have no choice. We gotta focus on our own people first and getting our own people the things that they need, the services they need. Fuck the migrants. Fuck the illegals. Help our own people first. We have to. We need to focus on our own people first. You can't host other people. You can't even host your own. Talk about a mistake. Forked tongue. Lopsided. And bad policy. Absolutely. If we can't if we cannot fix our own problems with our own existing people, how can we help other countries fix theirs? Well, guess what? Right now, the high price of food, supplies, and cost of living in the United States is already knocking the wealth out of the rich, too. David, that might be true to a point. That brings up another area, which is kind of a sore point. We created these, what they call minimum wage laws. Okay. But what they didn't think of, when you have a minimum wage law, is employers cannot always afford to pay that minimum wage. I'm not saying we should totally go throw the minimum wage law out in the garbage can, but the state minimum wages in some of the states is very high. I think, and yet, in some states, California is one of them for food service, I believe. $20 an hour in food service. That means that you have to raise the prices of the food you're selling to compensate for that $20 an hour. $20 for a Big Mac, anyone? In fact, it got so bad that McDonald's is thinking about leaving California. They just can't afford to keep it. And then they see Americans are lazy. Excuse me. Let me tell you something. I don't think that's entirely true. But they have to pay us the minimum wage of the state you're in. Right? So, whereas illegal, undocumented, they can hire cheaper because they're under the radar. But legitimate Americans, they can't hire under the radar that way because they'll be busted. They'll be busted for the illegals too. And then the Americans are saying, I'm sorry, I can't afford to live on $1 an hour. 40 hours a week, $1 an hour, $240 a month before taxes. When your apartment costs as much in some cities for a family of two, as much as $1,400 a month. It's so lopsided, the system, it doesn't make sense. David has said, so it's true. The East Indians are notorious for doing that. The light-skinned ones owns the business, and the dark-skinned ones are usually brought in as slave labor, making $1 an hour. Yes, I know that. And the problem is, while the American person that goes and might be also looking for a job gets told by the employer, sorry, I'm not hiring right now. You could always try to put in an application. And I'll say if I can put you on, and maybe maybe like a year or 2 years. Because they know they can't afford to pay the minimum wage of the state you're living in. So you see, the system is lopsided. It's not even make any sense. So what do the minimum wage laws really do? It effectively put all the prices up artificially. Who benefits from that? Not surprisingly, the federal government does. Higher taxes. Why do you think there's 500,000 missing migrant kids not being talked about in the news or by the administration in charge? I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know what happened to all those kids. But the point is, the Democrats can't get anything right. Look at the current issues right now in Congress. Under Chuck Schumer in the Senate, they cannot make any kind of bipartisan working agreement with any of the Republicans. They got a farm bill they got to pass. Nothing is coming out of that. They have to come up with a budget for the next fiscal year, which starts on October 1st. Again, nothing is being done about that. They don't want to fix it. Same thing went under the Obama administration when they were in charge of the House, the Senate, and the White House. They got zip done. I have no idea. One of my friends worked at a high-priced liquor store in Greenwich, Connecticut, and his Indian boss brought in a slave from India. There you go. Wage slaves. People that worked basically willing to work for current prices. Let's talk about housing. Something that most of us Americans have to pay a huge chunk of our income to, a landlord. You do realize that most people rent housing from corporations that may directly or indirectly be working with BlackRock. For decades, they have made a fortune off our backs. They have been charging the rents have been going up, 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 and up. But the profit line has to stay high too in order to keep the stockholders happy. The American people cannot afford to buy a home. It's true. But Kamala Harris doesn't have a plan for that either. Trump didn't really cover much either, so let's be honest. I don't think either one really has a direct answer of how to solve the fact that American people need housing. It goes back to the homeless problem too. But people are getting squeezed. It don't really matter which party you're in. They're both doing it. Americans are getting squeezed, and at least Trump was willing to speak more about it than Kamala Harris did. Housing industries are getting expensive. The problem is again that goes back to the minimum wage concept. Get rid of the minimum wage. And while the economy may seriously suffer a major initial crash, I think you will see prices drop like a rock. Nobody has the balls to tell the government to go pound sand. I understand that. You're right, David. Most Americans are afraid to go against the government. And that's the way the government wants it. They're like the boy that steals your lunch money or gives you a wedgie. That's what the government does. It's giving you a wedgie. If you don't take it, or if they don't give you a broken nose and take your lunch money in the process. I'd like to see people feel better about themselves. That's another thing. Why is it that as of late, I don't care who you are, this applies to everybody, the American people feel so depressed? I haven't felt this way when I was under Trump. Under Trump, I felt we were making positive progress. Empire builders always fail. Yeah. Look what happened to our predecessor there, the United Kingdom, the British Empire. Part of the reason why the British Empire failed was because people in the UK really depended on a lot of resources from other countries that they were under the empire. For example, the cotton industry, the garment industry. There was a lot of need for slave labor to run the cotton mills and the factories. So people came into the UK, into the major manufacturing cities such as Manchester, in London, to work in the factories, in some places in the most deplorable conditions. But the industries themselves were trying to make a profit for their own board of directors, their own stockholders. I like to see that. If you can send me a link to that protest, I'd like to show it on my channel. Maybe not the whole thing, but we need to do the same thing. We need to tell Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that the American people do not like what they're doing to us. America used to be one of the most successful, prosperous manufacturing industries in the world. We used to have a lot of industry. The economy was good. 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. What happened? Started outsourcing to other countries. Well, I hope it would be peaceful too. But, Christina, I don't know how peaceful it's going to be because there's always going to be a couple non-peaceful people in that group. They're going to want to try to stir the pot in a bad way. People don't realize how much that the UK has suffered because of their illegal migrant problem. It's not just America. Everybody thinks it's only America that has this problem. I can assure you it's not. When Trump said, America, all the countries of the world, their crime rates are dropping. I said, not in America, not in the UK, it's not. Knife stabbings are up. Because of the same problem that America's having. Illegals coming over from Calais and in Eastern Europe, in Asia, flooding the United Kingdom with people that don't even speak English and eat curry and sit there and want to keep their little ethnic groups together. Why can't you do that in your own country? See, you left. Yes, some are. Especially those that support the World Economic Forum. Because Trump is going to upset their apple cart, and they know that. Protests are really bad all over. Cell phones are tracked and traced back home after the protests. And a list is made to be acted on later if they choose to. The ones who want severe control are indeed afraid of Trump. The ones who want control are the ones who gaslighted the nation for the last 3 years. I know you are a little country. If you look at all the size of the UK, it's about the size of Michigan and maybe Ohio combined. It's not a huge place. It's a small place. You guys are bursting at the seams. You don't even have enough places to deal with your own homeless problem either. Just like us Americans, you guys trying to criminalize homelessness for sleeping rough. Because there's no place to put them. That's what I'm saying. We gotta find a way to fix the problem. But the way the Democrats are doing it, it's not working. Yeah. They rounded up a bunch of people that were partying in Florida during the lockdown and were all tracked back home. People came knocking on the doors. That's what I'm talking about, guys. It's bullshit.